He has yet to say he can release past year's tax returns. He can do it tomorrow. He doesn't want to do it because presumably there's something in there that is bad. If there's nothing, release them tomorrow. They're already prepared.
As far as the taxes are concerned, I'm being audited. No, it's a very routine audit, and it's very unfair because I've been audited for, I think, over 12 years. Every year, because of the size of my company, which is very, very large, I'm being audited, which is a very large company.
Thank you.
I'm being audited 12 years in a row at least. Now, until that audit's done, and I don't think anybody would blame me, I'm not giving it.
Thank you.
But as soon as it's done,
What about the years you're not being audited? Will you release those?
I'm being audited for those years.
Republican frontrunner Donald Trump coming under fire at Thursday night's GOP debate for not releasing his tax returns. Trump shoots back, saying he's under a so-called routine audit. So what does that mean? Welcome to your Friday lunch break. I'm Tanya Rivero, and we're joined now by WSJ tax reporter Richard Rubin from our bureau in Washington. Welcome, Richard. You heard Mr. Trump's comments. You are a tax expert. Does what he's saying make sense to you?
Well, there's nothing routine about Donald Trump. If we've learned anything about anything in this campaign, we know that. So here's the thing. It's very rare for individuals to be audited every single year. The IRS, if they go in, they don't find anything, they don't want to go back and spend their resources going back to the same person with the same issues. Then you've got large corporations. Think about Intel or GE or Apple. They're basically under continuous audit. Trump is somewhere in the middle. He's running a company, but he's also an individual. So it's hard to really gauge whether this is typical. This idea that there's a routine, constant audit that prevents him from releasing his returns, that's a little bit dubious.
Does the IRS confirm when they're auditing individuals or corporations? Can it be confirmed that Trump has been under audit off and on for essentially the past 12 years, as he claims?
No. The IRS operates under privacy laws, and so there's a specific section of the tax code that bars the IRS from commenting about any individual taxpayer. So that goes to companies, that goes to individuals. The IRS will never confirm whether someone is audited or not.
But as you said, if the IRS doesn't find something, they generally will not continue to audit. So if it's true that he is being audited continually for 12 years, that's probably not a good sign, correct?
It's a sign that they've found something, or that there's something they're looking at. One thing he said after the debate is that past years interrelate and mesh with the current year, and so that's why he can't release even past years. So maybe that has to do with the way his transactions link to each other. It's not clear at all what's going on.
Sure. Now, Mr. Trump is engaged in a bit of a Twitter fight with, among others, Mitt Romney for not releasing returns. Mr. Romney says there's no reason not to release returns during an audit. Is that accurate? Would there be any reason not to release your returns during an audit?
So legally, no. There's absolutely no prohibition on Mr. Trump releasing his returns. They're his returns. He can make them public anytime he wants. Whether it's prudent or not is the next question. What Mr. Trump said after the debate was, he said, look, it's not a good negotiating position to go and put these out there while we're arguing with the IRS. And that goes to the ways in which his approach to the tax code is different from yours and mine. We file our return, hope we don't get audited. When you're wealthy, you file your return, it's sort of a first offer, and you know there's a pretty decent chance you might get audited.
Right. You use the word negotiate. So does a high wealth individual like Mr. Trump negotiate with the IRS over his taxes?
I mean, he likes to see everything as a negotiation, but in some sense, yes. So here's the way it works. The IRS will find something. They'll say, we think you owe another $10 million. And then you'll try and reach some sort of compromise. What the IRS is thinking about is, all right, it costs us money to go through the appeals process. It would cost us money to litigate this. We might actually lose if this goes to court. And so those are all the reasons why the IRS might initially say, oh, you owe us $10 million, and eventually settle at some point lower than that.
Right, so they do have settlements. All right, so how long does a typical audit take from start to finish for 1 year, let's say?
It can be a period of months. It can go on longer than that. You know, if you start getting into the place where it's going into litigation, it can take years and years and years. So Mr. Trump has not been to tax court as far as I can tell, which is what you do if you were going to sue the IRS and if they'd done something you really didn't like and thought was wrong. but those can really drag on for a long time.
So it sounds like it's going to be really hard to unpack the tax realities of Mr. Trump here.
Yeah, it's not at all clear that this will finish sometime before, certainly before the primary season is done, or the convention, or the general election. If he's really under continuous audit, it may be a continuous audit until then.
All right, thank you so much, Richard Rubin in D.C. for that.